Now we'll have a look at how you can create and manage users on your system. So you want to go to your settings menu option again, and then navigate to the users tab. So this is where you can add, remove, deactivate, reset logins for all of your users, etc. So to add a new user, the easiest way is to use the invite feature here on the left hand corner. So if you click on invite user, you can type the name and the email. And here you can specify whether this user must have desktop access, because sometimes you might want to create a user that can only access the inspections app but won't be able to access the portal. And then you can also specify whether this user has settings access the same as you have. So in other words, will they be able to access the 3 cogs here at the top right hand corner? And then whether they must have access to all the portfolios, which we will get to in another video, as well as the email access. Now all you need to do is click send invite, and that user will then receive an email similar to the one that you got, where they can click on the link, select the password, and log into the system. So once I created this user, you'll see that the system now says that I've used 2 of my 5 available user licenses. To request more licenses, you can simply email us and ask us to purchase another user license. Now you can also come to this window to reset a user's login. So if a user cannot get their own reset link sent through, you can come here and click on the reset and send login link. And it will ask you if you're sure you want to reset this user's login details and send them a new login link. And they will then receive another email in their inbox where they can click on the link, select a new password, and log into the system. Okay, now let's have a look at some of the other details available to edit on a user. So if you click on the options and select edit user details, you'll see there's some other details here that you can also specify after creating the user. So the second field here is called system email, and you'll note that you've got a system email allocated to your company that will be used by default for every new user that you register. However, you can also select your own custom email address as long as it ends with @propertyupdate.zone. So for instance, if I want to change this to democo.marinda@propertyupdate.zone, I can select that and click save, and it will update. So this means that any email that Marinda sends from the system will come from this email address. The third field here is the personal email, and this is the one that this user will always need to recover forgotten passwords, and that we will also use to communicate with this user. You can also specify this option to use this email as the reply to. This means that when this user sends an email from the system, it will come from the propertyupdate.zone address, but when your client clicks reply, the reply to address that will be filled in is going to be this address. So this is sometimes used by users who don't work on the system often and just use it for inspections. So when they send a report from the system, they want the replies to that email to come to their own inbox and not to the RedRabbit inbox. However, we would not advise using this setting if you are a maintenance administrator, as then you would lose the audit trail capability that makes sure that all of the outgoing and incoming emails are logged in the system. You've also got this option here to receive a daily summary email in your normal inbox that will just give you a breakdown of all your maintenance ticket reminders and any upcoming inspections, as well as give you an indication of how many unread emails there are in your RedRabbit inbox. You can also specify a mobile number and a landline here, and these will be available to use as tags when working with the saved email replies. Then there's also an option for you to upload a PNG or a JPEG of your email signature. Let me give you a typical example. So something like that will be appended to your emails when it's sent from the system. Then you can also specify the default declaration for this specific user. Now this is the declaration that is on the signature when a tenant or landlord signs on the inspection app. We will demonstrate this again when we get to the inspection app. And here you can change the permissions that was set when you created this user, and you can also change the portfolio access. So in other words, what properties is this user supposed to have access to? There is a separate video on working with the portfolios. Then you can also specify the email access. So what emails do you want this user to see? So if everybody in your company is using the same system email address, which is fine, then it's not going to matter what option you choose here. However, if everybody is using their own email address like this, demoko.marinda, demoko.mark, for instance, and you want each user to only see their own emails in the inbox, then you can change this to user specific. So they will then, when looking at the inbox, only see emails that they sent and that was sent to that specific email address that they own. Then lastly, you can change the login or the username here, and you can also specify the password if you want to manually change or update a user's password. Now, if we go back to our users tab on company details, you will see that we can also deactivate a user. So from time to time, you might have a user leave your company and you just want to make sure they don't have any access further to the system. So to deactivate them, simply select the deactivate user option from the drop-down and click yes, and this will invalidate all their login details. And there you can see it's now inactive and the number of licenses has reduced to only 1 because that only takes active licenses into account. Once a user is deactivated or inactive, you can also then delete this user permanently. However, we would never advise you to do that, as you will lose all of the audit trails and all of the links to all the maintenance tickets and inspection that user did. So ideally, you still want to see who was the user who originally worked on that maintenance ticket or that inspection. So just keep it inactive. It doesn't have any impact on your number of users. But if you created the user accidentally and you want to delete it and you know that this user hasn't ever accessed the system, then you can use the delete feature. You can also re-enable a user by just clicking on the drop-down of an inactive user and then selecting the reset and send login link. So this will reset their details, set them to active again, and they will receive a login link in the inbox. You can also use this feature obviously for existing users that are active but that have forgotten their passwords.